Thing one tonight, it's not terribly hard to figure out when Donald Trump is lying. As a rule of thumb, it's pretty much always. But there's one little routine he does that's particularly entertaining. It's the old, I have a friend who told me a thing. Like the story about his friend Jim, who used to love to go to Paris, but not anymore.
I have a friend, every year he goes to Paris. I haven't seen him in a while. Paris, oh, the city of lights, he's telling me. My friend used to go to Paris. Oh, Donald, I love Paris. They're just so beautiful. For years. A friend of mine, I saw him yesterday. I said, how'd you like France? And I said, Jim, let me ask you a question. How's Paris doing? Paris? I don't go there anymore. Paris is no longer Paris. He said, France isn't France anymore. We're not going.
As it turns out, there is no evidence that Trump's friend Jim actually exists. In fact, the New Yorker magazine tried to find Jim, searching far and wide, checking with all the Jims they could find who may have crossed paths with Trump, and came up empty. Because of course they did. But Jim isn't even the most egregious of Trump's friend stories. We just learned about a brand new one that is really something else. That's thing two in 60 seconds. The Washington Post identified a strange pattern last week in Donald Trump's speeches, although maybe nothing is that strange anymore with this president. It's a story Trump has told several times about the Iran deal that he backed out of. And this one is about a conversation he has with a Jewish friend. But every time he tells a story, it's a different Jewish friend.
And I said to people, what's more important, the Golan Heights or the capital of Jerusalem by moving our embassy there? He said, neither, sir. What you've done in Iran is more important than both of them. I said to Sheldon, what do you think was bigger? Israel and the embassy going in, and it became Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, or the Golan Heights? He said, neither. I said, what do you mean, neither, Sheldon? He said, the biggest thing you did for Israel was breaking up and terminating the horrible, one-sided, catastrophic deal that was made by President Obama. I said, Bob Kraft, which is bigger? Which is more important to the Jewish people? He said, neither. I said, what does that mean? He said, what you did by terminating the Iran nuclear deal is bigger than both. And then I asked Charlie Kushner, I said, Charlie, let me ask you, what's bigger for the Jewish people? Giving the embassy to Jerusalem, it becomes the capital of Israel. What's bigger, that or the Golan Heights? He said, neither. I said, what does that mean? He said, the biggest thing of all is what you did by ending the Iran nuclear catastrophe. I think that's true. I think that's true.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.